Welcome to Conflict News 24. Several updates for you on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Firstly, Russians are launching counter-attacks on Bakhmut front. They were driven out of Bakhmut city in eastern and southern parts of the city, but now they are launching human wave attacks. What are these human wave attacks? Why are Russians relying on these attacks, which could cost them casualties of their soldiers? We heard the mention of this technique a lot in recent Tigray, Ethiopia war. The technique is being used by Russians too, though they have lots of military tech available. Why are they relying on this technique? And secondly, Ukraine today confirmed death of 4 of its soldiers on Russian soil. Again, a confirmation that Ukraine is conducting sabotage operations inside Russia. And thirdly, Putin today announced a counter move against a decision made by EU, Australia, and some G7 countries a few days ago when they imposed a price cap on Russian oil imports. Putin has now banned oil exports from Russia to these countries which imposed a price cap on Russian oil. Firstly, viewers, Bakhmut front, Crimea, Bakhmut, two main fronts these days in the war. Though entire Russia-Ukraine border is front line, but two major fronts are Crimea and Bakhmut. Bakhmut is the gateway to two main cities, that Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. Russians, Allied forces, Wagner fighters, they were trying to take control of Bakhmut for months. And a few weeks ago, they managed to enter eastern and southern parts of Bakhmut. We saw pictures, videos of Russian forces, Wagner fighters, in eastern industrial area of Bakhmut and southern parts of Bakhmut as well. Then came counteroffensive of Ukrainians, and Russians were driven out of eastern part of the city and from Opatne, which is in the south of Bakhmut city. Now, in the last 48 hours, Russians have launched major human wave attacks. Means involving a large number of troops. Russians are now relying on the strength of their newly recruited fighters, reservists, Wagner fighters. Now they're launching attacks involving thousands of fighters, again from two directions. From eastern side, they're trying to move towards the eastern part of Bakhmut, industrial area. And they're back in Opatne. They were out of it reportedly. They were in control of it. And they were in control of 80% of Opatne a few days ago. They were driven out and now they're back in Opatne. Around 50% of Opatne is now under Russian control. It means that in eastern and southern parts of Bakhmut, Russians are trying to make inroads once again. There are 5 main routes leading out of Bakhmut city. One in western direction, 2 in the north, and one in the south towards Opatne, and 1 or 2 in the east. Eastern and southern routes are contested. Russians there. But northern and western routes out of city are under Ukrainian control. It means that Ukrainian supply lines are intact. Russians trying to lay partial siege to Bakhmut. So far, strategy not working. And by the way, Ukraine has also deployed thousands of soldiers on only Bakhmut front. Bakhmut is being seen by Ukraine as a major defense line. That is why they're able to defend. And Russians have to fight even for an inch of Bakhmut. They advance, they retreat, and this has been ongoing for days. They have made some small gains in eastern and southern parts of Bakhmut city through human wave attacks, which could cost Russians in terms of casualties. But since they are now so desperate on this front that they want to capture Bakhmut at any cost, cost could be high, keeping in view their earlier experience a few weeks ago when they had to retreat from eastern and southern parts of Bakhmut. Secondly, viewers, today Ukrainian authorities confirmed the death of 4 soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers on Russian territory. Bryansk is a Russian region. It shares border with Ukraine. And 4 Ukrainian soldiers were killed there. They were on a special mission there. Their names have been made public by Ukrainian military officials. So, a confirmation that Ukrainian soldiers are involved in sabotage operations inside Russia. We saw that just twice this month, Ukrainians attacked deep inside Russia, mostly drone strikes on 2 military bases, Angles and another military base in Russia. Melitopol, part of Ukraine, hit. Crimea hit as well through some operations, sabotage and air and drone attacks as well. It means that Ukrainians have penetration inside Russia and in eastern Ukraine, which is under Russian control. That is why we are seeing attacks on Russian territories inside Ukraine. Death of 4 Ukrainian soldiers inside Russia confirmed by Ukrainian authorities. Though details of mission have not been made public. What was the special mission which they were on? No details so far. Lastly, viewers, economic war between Russia and EU, Russia and US continues. Earlier this month, G7 countries, US, Britain, Japan, France, Italy, Canada, they and EU countries, Australia, they imposed a price hike on Russian oil. That if anyone wants to purchase Russian oil by sea, $60 per barrel would be the price cap. No country will pay Russia more than $60 per barrel, because oil prices rose to more than $100 per barrel a few months ago. Russia was profiting from this price hike because Russians are oil exporters. That is why this price cap was imposed on Russian oil exports to the countries which agreed. Russia is now responding. Today, Russian President Putin signed a decree that Russia will not export oil and oil products to those countries which have imposed a price hike on Russian oil. And this ban will remain put in place from the 1st of February till the end of July. So for 6 months, it means that Russia has imposed this oil export ban to the countries like EU, entire EU, G7 countries and Australia. So this economic war is continuing. EU, US tried to cripple Russian economy by these sanctions. But so we're seeing that Russian economy has not suffered a lot. Only 2.5% is the loss in terms of GDP suffered by Russians this year. They have not suffered a lot. Their economy still strong. EU G7 Australia imposed a price cap on Russian oil, but there are several potential buyers who can purchase Russian oil for more than $60 per barrel. That is why Russia is facing no shortage of buyers. Can EU US G7 produce any results by putting in place this price cap on Russian oil? That remains to be seen. War, economic war, war in the battlefield, diplomatic war ongoing between Russia and EU, US, NATO. Thank you for watching.